is to claim that TAA and upscalers enable developers to optimize these effects by rendering them at lower resolutions, allowing TAA to smooth them with supposedly no cost. But if you do some digging, you'll discover older deferred titles from under a decade ago, rendering the same basic effects independently of temporal frame smearing with similar or better performance.
That's one thing I've noticed. I feel like graphics kind of peaked in like 2014 to 2017, and we haven't really had like a huge breakthrough since then.
Or similar better visual quality. And guess what? If you need extra performance,
I noticed that playing Metal Gear Rising Revengeance,
that feature can be programmed to run at a lower resolution and or include its own temporal accumulation without blurring the entire frame. Modern implementations of last gen's basic visuals perform more poorly because studios leverage the power of next generation consoles to cut financial costs on legitimate optimization processes for faster releases. The financial savings don't end there though. TAA and upscalers enable studios to save money by integrating these popular and fully developed temporal algorithms into their engines instead of investing in the development of genuinely high-performing and self-resolving effects.
Because it's more expensive.
TAA, a large portion of rendering advancement papers tie in TAA or mention an upscaler such as DLSS as a required condition to solve some issue with the design.
Oh my god.
Speaking of DLSS, people...
So... that is insane. Wake up, Neo? Yeah, this is upsetting, guys. This is really upsetting. Where the hell does it... So you're telling me that they're saving money and they're still spending... Yeah, they're saving money and they're still spending over $100 million making these games? I feel like we have a problem. What's this?
Because DLSS is always compared to native with TAA applied. Anything compared to the worst case scenario will appear improved.
Oh my god.
The so-called best TAA algorithms are needlessly expensive and brand specific.
Yeah.
First, I have a bone to pick with DLAA.
DLAA uses too many pass frames for reconstruction, which causes two problems. Long ghosting frames and significant blurring of motion compared to native with SMA.
Do you want to know what's so bad about this? Is that I actually thought when I played these games that it was a design choice. It was a stylistic choice. I didn't realize it was just the fucking graphics rendering being shitty. Yeah,
Stationary output. It also fails to smooth stair-stepping and motion compared to SMA. Applying Circus Method to the newest DLL provides much better results, even though both examples are rendered at 1080p. But Circus Method isn't cheap. DLA at 1080p on a desktop 12GB 3060 costs 0.75 milliseconds. Circus Method bumps it up to 2.44 milliseconds. Image quality is far from poor, but its proprietary nature, cost, and Blue Moon AI mistakes makes it unreliable for the industry. XGSS 1.3 native has the same problems as DLIA, but costs 1.44 milliseconds at 1080p on the same machine. Applying Circus Method gets image quality almost indistinguishable from Circus Method DLSS, but costs 4.6 milliseconds. Next is Unreal's TSR. It's a little more complex because it implements Circus Method natively, but I give it the fairest shot possible by using UE 5.4's more optimized implementation. It's easy.
Yeah, this is way worse. Like, you can't tell really with this image, but you can easily tell with this one. I just don't understand how it's so bad. And they spend so much money on it.
It's easy to appear superior to Unreal's TAA, but TSR suffers from a specific hazy fizzle appearance that video compression doesn't present well enough to compare with my criticism of that aspect. But besides whether or not you think it looks fine or not, the biggest issue again is the cost when set by the maximum quality settings for anti-aliasing. It puts TSR 10 times the cost of TAA and stands around 3 milliseconds on a 3060 at native 1080p. That's the difference between 60 FPS and 50 FPS.
Jesus.
Still not convinced it's too expensive? Let's look at the Decima TAA again from 2017.
Wait, this is the way it looks? Oh my god.
Я не готова применить это заклинание.
These are PS4 titles. They didn't go with SMA because of the cost combined with temporal reprojection, so they went with sharpened FXA fallback for their 2-frame TAA instead. But what if they use SMA instead? We would get 0.36 milliseconds results at 30 FPS, if we wanted to keep AAA costs under 1 millisecond on modern affordable hardware, we could catapult the quality even further with 60 FPS and use that 0.73 milliseconds of headroom with aspects such as SMA or advanced motion vectors. Meanwhile,
I don't understand why they keep focusing on trying to make this like hyper realistic when the game plays at 30. I feel like if your game has to play at 30 FPS, it's like real life isn't at 30 FPS. So at that point, like, what about that?
TSR was put under the same scenario on screen, I guarantee you it would look like a slime show even at 60 FPS.
Yeah.
These are TAA design requisites that must be combined to keep TAA computations costs low and stop it from producing the poor image quality we've settled for more than a decade now.
Yeah.
But effect dependency is preventing progress. Unreal has long counted on this dependency, and still heavily does. UE5 is set to worsen this industry problem because it's going to dominate the production of titles coming this generation, and Epic and its partners like CD Projekt Red have no concern over this matter.
Yeah, because CD Projekt Red
goes so far to claim that FXA results in a loss of fidelity compared to their temporal methods.
Yeah, they're
which you should
using
be aware
Unreal
by now is only a half-truth. They also
because it's like I think about these like up-res cyberpunk videos, and none of them look like this.
Misleading information about TSR, presenting it as a method to achieve near 4K quality with just 1080p input. Of course, they showcase this with a stationary example. In reality, 540p with sufficient temporal jitter and accumulation can result in an 8K resolution image with a stationary camera. Out of context fairy tales like this are damaging game development.
Wow.
Another out-of-context narrative Epic Games is pushing is that Nanite
has a faster way to render geometry and aims to eliminate the LOD pop-in association. Nanite does not increase performance unless you abuse your scene with extreme overdraw. I've compiled many tests on the specific Unreal's forums thread that proves this. Nanite can cost as much as next-gen lighting, and pop-in will still remain a part of your gaming experience because shadows, skeletal meshes, foliage, and open-world partitions will still introduce pop.
And we know this from PAX Day. Because PAX Day had that same functionality.
Even Brian Keras has stated Nanite can have worse performance on optimized meshes, but stated users still enable it to save disk space. This comment is a perfect example showing Epic Games' flawed position on what modern games really need.
It doesn't matter if your highly detailed open-world game is 100 megabytes, but can't perform at a decent resolution and frame rate.
Yeah.
Optimized meshes don't even require nanite compression. But studios who use nanite save themselves money by not investing in quality LODs.
And not having mesh introduction transitional effects that would give you better results. The good practice used on optimized game meshes is the use of bitmaps for subpixel detail.
Yeah, look at that.
The good practice.
You guys see this? Watch, it just literally appears out of nowhere.
The good practice used on optimized game meshes is the use of bitmaps for subpixel detail, such as the words on these pixel stones. Nanite encourages and is designed to render subpixel detail geometrically instead of textures, which causes extreme pixel crawl and artifacting, which you guessed it, can only be fixed by intense temporal frame smearing, creating a manufactured and limited scenario where flawed TAA appears to be better off. I understand the time and quality issues related to making good LODs, but Nanite is the worst solution to this problem.
UE5 will dominate all other options because this engine excels in support.
I'm talking asset packages formatted specifically for Unreal, hundreds of documentations, shared public content, overwhelming logic support. Epic Games provides hundreds of free, basic, but high-quality assets when you use Unreal. Every third-party vendor with game-related software only uses support for Unreal.
I hate video games
Unreal
now.
offers a unique amount of support for critical tools for basic workflows like animation and debuggers. It's intuitive to use in comparison with competitor UI and programming designs. For studios, finding individuals to hire is made easy due to the widespread popularity and adoption of the engine. It's an advantage Unreal has acquired by simply existing as long as the way it has that makes it the go-to for software and digital media. But the engine designs and its leadership should not be at the forefront of next-gen graphics development for critical reasons I'll outline right now. Epic provides 30 FPS presets in Unreal because they don't believe it's inadequate on 9th generation consoles. Look at Fortnite 5.4's performance. The design is CPU intensive, sure, but the art style is simplistic enough to even with GI it should provide a computational advantage. Yet it's one of the hardest games to run on the GPU side, even with a 60 FPS or high preset enabled.
Oh my god!
If this is the best performance offered by the engine's creators, of course it'll defend 30 FPS when basic realism or complex stylized visuals come into play. Epic has no experience making realistic games.
That's actually true.
Matrix Awakens is not a game. It's a visually exciting 30 FPS demo with enough motion blur to hide the 30 FPS screen judder. Consumers who didn't own a 9th generation console at the
So
time.
he's saying
Мне
that, like,
нужно подойти ближе.
we thought we were living in a 60 FPS world, but we were in a 30 FPS world all along and we didn't even know it? Holy fuck, man. Wake up?
Слишком далеко.
This is good, bro. I'm gonna be thinking about this for
Я
a
пока
while.
не могу произнести
Saw the
это
60 FPS tag on the
заклинание.
YouTube presentation to assume that was the case. People who did experience the demo firsthand were given
Yeah.
basic
Не
directions
могу
to a
достать.
gaming system that wouldn't expose the fluidity issues of 30 FPS. Epic has no problem with using the flaws of their TAA or temporal upscalers
Надо
such as DLSS
подождать.
for several effects I've shown throughout this video. Epic defaults their engine to rely on temporal smearing when very few TAA independent features remain undocumented and hidden behind loopholes
Мне
most
нужно
unaffected
подойти
developers will never
ближе.
find.
I had no
They
idea about
shamelessly
any of
promote
this.
heavy and blurry temporal upscaling as a
Слишком
viable
далеко.
solution on 9th generation consoles. And the biggest problem with Epic and their perspective on
Не
game
могу
development is that
достать.
Fortnite drives their motivation for Unreal's
Я не
development.
готова
Fortnite
применить
is a
это
game with a very
заклинание.
unique and uncommon problem the engine has to accommodate for.
Мне
It's an
нужно
open world map
подойти
with a
ближе.
dynamic time of day and weather.
Uh-huh.
This means real-time GPU calculations need to be computed per frame to account for those dynamic changes. What makes
Я
these
пока не
calculations so much
могу
more expensive and
произнести
unreal
это
is the fact that
заклинание.
Fortnite's entire environment is destructible. This is why more realistic open worlds from 8th generation console titles have no problem with day or weather cycles even though they don't use light maps.
Yeah, it's like if I look at this game, there's none of that in that Metal Gear Solid.
Use light maps.
Holy shit.
Because their environment, or in other words, primary source of indirect lighting, is mostly static.
Я не готова применить
Lighting
это
solutions that
заклинание.
bake small, memory-efficient indirect lighting hints that your GPU doesn't have to compute. This way, your GPU just calculates how these pre-computed hints correlate to the dynamic lights and shadows.
Yeah.
These lighting systems have their own limitations, but not a whole lot that can't be accelerated or overcome using 9th gen's hardware fully.
And like, here's a good example of this. Have you guys ever walked inside of a room in Unreal and the room is super dark, and then in like a minute it becomes bright? I wonder if that's related to this.
Potential. Fortnite's GI, which is Unreal's Lumen, can't let developers with the
подождать.
common environmental properties bake any high-quality indirect lighting hints that save you performance. Unreal's
Holy
light maps
shit.
are uninterpolatable and have serious leaking problems that can only be mitigated with stupid amounts of VRAM memory. So many Unreal games are wasting performance with basic visual standards because
Не
your
могу
GPU is computer whether or not a Fortnite wall has been destroyed or what that wall looked like, etc. Lumen is noisy without TAA because it isn't designed to use
Я не
stable or
готова
high-quality
применить
indirect
это
lighting hints.
заклинание.
So top that inefficiency off in games with other Epic game technologies like Nanite, Virtual Shadow Maps, and TSR, and we're left with games created faster than ever and as inefficient and as terrible in motion as ever. When this happens over and over again, it standardizes, which is why other studios are following these inefficient designs for their mostly static games that could use faster systems.
And so I think that I don't know what to say. Like, I think that the problem is that it creates. I think what he's trying to argue, I'm not sure because I don't really have like a background in this. I think what he's trying to argue is that the end result of this type of cost cutting is a worse product, even though for a lot of average users, they probably don't care.
Epic Games' indifference towards underperforming
He's saying devs are lazy? Yeah.
third-party Unreal games
I think.
is the statement that big-budget studios should customize Unreal source code to provide more appropriate designs for their titles. True, but it's almost a catch-22. If a studio decides to use Unreal, it shows they lack the funding, interest, and/or innovation to manage the graphics
Слишком
themselves. This is
далеко.
exactly what happens when established studios throw out proprietary engines in favor of what Unreal offers.
Wait, what?
I have one more problem with Epic that I need to cover.
What?
Unreal is used for the automotive, film, simulation, and construction industries. That wouldn't be a problem if Epic wasn't constantly accounting for this user base and modeling Unreal with algorithms not meant for
какое время
consumer-efficient
потратил?
real-time rendering.
That's
Amidst
true.
of these issues, I gave Epic the benefit of the doubt and made a feedback thread on the Unreal Developer Forums 12 months ago, requesting the prioritization of game development and a larger focus on temporal smearing
Раз,
independence within their
просто
various
очень долго
effects.
добираться.
In only 11 months, it was voted as the #1 feedback from developers, replacing the previous #1 feedback thread made 3 years ago. Epic released several Unreal versions, including nothing pertaining to the thread's request, despite a solid number of educated developers ready to progress beyond Epic's limited vision for this generation of gaming.
Jesus.
This studio was created to begin the production of an intense
Well, no,
action
people
game.
use Unreal for all
Можно
kinds of
подождать.
things. Like for
будет с
like
тобой, Сия.
architecture renderings and all kinds of other things too. Yeah, he rallied the devs. Yeah, this is
Based on a
insane.
new IP consisting over 700 pages of detailed story and scenarios. Our game is conventional due to only requiring a mostly static world with dynamic lights, making our goals much more relevant to many developers and gamers.
Yeah.
We have paused the production of our game, so our unrivaled passion for motion clarity and performance standards for untainted photorealism can
блядь.
be met, which is why
Я
our
забываю про
solution is to
это.
create a custom Unreal via crowdfunding with custom systems that
Ты
directly
забываешь, что я
address
маг.
the giant issues stated in this
Okay.
video. Don't think a custom Unreal engine will have an impact on developers? Take the finals for example. It performs so much better than other UE5 games. People defend Epic's UE5 and solely blame studios for any worst performing titles.
Yeah,
But the finals'
I
extreme
do that.
perspective nature made using Nanite and the associated virtual shadow maps impossible. And
What?
most people don't know that the finals uses NVIDIA's custom UE5 branch to make use of its lower quality but much faster dynamic GI, DDGI, instead of Epic's Lumen. The finals performance doesn't contradict our views on Epic's Unreal. It only proves our point.
Мне еще осталось.
NVIDIA's custom UE5 branch is exactly how we want to execute ours. But as of now, we need funding to motivate higher, skilled graphic programmers. Our
Holy
engine will always
shit.
be accessible for review and use under Epic's GitHub restrictions. Unlike industry leaders, we do not believe the future of graphics is dependent on blurry or expensive temporal smearing.
I feel like that's the case. Yeah, because they do look so blurry.
That future is only possible
Holy
if
shit.
you care enough and support our vision for
There's
modern
exactly
graphics.
zero dumbing down in this video. Yeah, like I'll be real. Like as somebody who doesn't come from a design background, a lot of this stuff went over my head. Like I can understand the visual differences and I get like kind of what he's talking about, but a lot of it I don't understand this because I don't have a lot of like I don't have any background in this.
So sponsors, investors, we're ready to begin if we've convinced you. Threat Interactive, my studio, will be giving more details about how we intend to
Собственную
execute our plan in our next video.
действие.
Until then, thank you for watching this one. And please like and subscribe to our channel and share this message on your favorite Discord server, subreddit, and social media so we can
That's what
start
happened
elevating
with
the
me.
future of gaming standards together.
Holy fuck. I'll link you guys his video. I'll give him a sub and give him a
Чел,
like. Yeah,
какую-то
here,
хуйню
you can
сделал.
subscribe to him right now. W video, yeah. Glad you're putting light on this. I had no idea about any of this, man.
Но
Yeah,
сам,
please share.
типа,
There's the
просто
video.
пару
Give it
фото-
a like. Give him a sub. Threat Interactive. And dynamic
Привет.
lighting was better
Привет,
9 years ago.
Написали, что он нарубает существа, наверное.
What? I don't even know what to say. That's ridiculous.
Блять. О. Давай что-нибудь сложим.
So, I've seen these commercials. I think like everybody's seen these commercials about like online game ads. And I've always been wondering like why is it that like cuz like some of these games there'll be a commercial for a game that seems kind of interesting and then the game itself isn't like that at all. It's like why do you make a fake video game ad? Why wouldn't you just make the game? If you already have a proof of concept, like why not just make the game? I don't understand.
This is a YouTube advertisement for a mobile game called Evany the King's Return. You've probably seen this ad
Yep.
or ads just like it a million,
So many
billion,
times.
jillion
Yep.
times before, right? But if you go to the App Store on your phone and you download this game, you will quickly realize that the game you see in this ad does not exist.
What?
Evany is a game about city building. You build an
That's not even close.
An empire and level up your town hall and all that good stuff. But
What
despite
the
the fact
fuck?
that this ad is a lie, this marketing strategy is clearly very
100
effective.
million
This game
downloads?
has over 100 million downloads on the Google Play Store. So you might be thinking to yourself, why would a company even do this? What do they stand to
Yeah.
gain by tricking over 100 million people into downloading a game that doesn't even exist?
What, sunk
Well, I can
cost
answer your
fallacy?
question in just one word. Whales. And when you think of whales, you might think
Christ, are you serious? Oh my god.
of, you know, big giant creatures swimming through the
Yeah.
sea, or maybe, you know, the country with hills and sheep and stuff. But a mobile game developer, when they think of a whale, they think of this guy. His name is Daigo, and he is completely and utterly addicted to a mobile game called Fate Grand Order. He spends
That is, it's crazy to see people do this.
basically every waking moment
I've seen
of
this
his
before.
life playing this game. And at the time of this Wall Street Journal video being
was
released,
like
he had
$80,000.
spent roughly $70,000 on the game.
Probably 80
so
by
much
now.
money that he couldn't actually state an exact figure. And perhaps the most shocking part of
I
it
don't
all
like to think about it. I feel like, isn't that a self-report that maybe what you're doing is a bad idea? I don't even want to acknowledge the fact that it's happening. Yeah, like, to me, like, I don't know, I think that's a little bit of a giveaway.
is that he doesn't regret spending a single penny. This right here
Well, good
is
for
the
him.
lifeblood of your average free-to-play mobile game.
Yeah.
Maybe your game gets 100 million downloads, but the overwhelming majority of those
Женя,
players won't spend a
насколько
single
мало,
penny
точно,
on
более
your
чем
game. Many of them will quit after just a couple of hours. A small percentage of players will spend small amounts of money here or there just to make the game more fun for
Прям
them.
ёбаный
Then a
рот.
very small number of people will spend astronomical amounts of money on the game. So much
Well,
money.
it's like, you think about it, right? Let's say you have 100 million people playing your game. Like, you got 100 million people, and then out of that 100
Тоже
million,
выглядит бесполезным.
1,000 of those people, very, very small percentage, less than 1% of those people, 1,000 of those people spend,
Ну куда я могу это
$10,000,
посылать даже?
let's
У меня
say.
нету даже спылов, которые больше
that's
200 монет.
$10 million.
В принципе, какая-то снежная буря, ну.
That's what happens, is they bank on just that, like,
Я
that
не пользуюсь ей.
0.1% to just make up the amount of money, and like one's at 100,000, right, or something like
Не,
that,
не надо.
and it's probably even more. Yeah, Diablo Mobile, yeah. So like the whales, like you only need a few whales in a game to really keep it going. Wait, you're right? Yeah, and like whenever you think about it at scale, it actually is crazy how much they're making.
That it makes up for all of the other people who never spent a penny combined. And the more downloads your game gets, the more whales you get.
And you
According
need more of those casual players, because those casual players make the whales feel good about being whales.
to some sources, only about 2% of all mobile game players turn out to be whales. Yet they are responsible
2%. Think about that. 2% of 100 million is 2 million people. So if a whale is like, I don't know, like $1,000, that's $2 billion. That's crazy. Like that 2%. Oh my God. I'm in the wrong
Yes.
industry.
the
Yes.
overwhelming majority of
I need
the
to make a
money
gotcha
that the
mode.
mobile
Надеялся,
gaming
кому-то
industry
продать.
makes each year. And 2% of 100 million downloads is a whole lot more whales
Yeah.
than 2% of 10,000 downloads.
That's right.
So an
Да, это
advertisement
вендору за одну
like
колду
this,
уже
which
подавать.
just flagrantly shows you a game that isn't real, is doing its job exactly right. All this ad needs to do is convince you to download the game. That's it. Because yeah, sure, 90% of people are going to uninstall it basically immediately, and 98% of people
In
won't
my opinion, I think this should be illegal, by the way. It's like if you're doing something like this, it's basically false advertising.
spend a penny. But those 2%
Yeah.
make so much money that from the gaming company's perspective, all of this lying and cheating is worth it in the end.
And
it
it's also, keep in mind that it's not like you only spend $10,000 or $0. There's a lot of people that are like, I spend $30, I spend $20, somebody spends $6. That's still money. And you put $6 times $1 million, that's $6 million.
It's the biggest mobile game developers billions of dollars every year. But you're all probably thinking to yourself the exact same thing right now. This is just false advertising. Isn't false advertising meant to be illegal?
It is.
Don't these companies get sued into the ground for advertising a game that's completely fake? Well, in theory, yes. False advertising is illegal and it can get you into some serious trouble.
Еще, в
But in
принципе, боятся
practice, these
любых
companies
кино,
aren't
кстати.
actually breaking the law. You see,
Я могу
when I
за 5
said
голды
this game
продать за
didn't
3.
exist, I was almost telling the truth. Because this game you see in the advert does exist inside of Ebony the King's Return. See, it's a mini game
This looks like shit. This looks like the PlayStation 2 version.
that you can play inside of Ebony. You can play it for free for about half an hour before the levels run dry and you have to start engaging with the base building mechanics that most of the game is centered around. So to any government agency looking in, you didn't technically falsely advertise your product. This game is inside the mobile app that it's advertising. It's not false advertising, it's just disingenuous advertising. And disingenuous...
In my opinion, I think that it's still false advertising. I do. And the reason
Бесполезная
why
хуйня падает.
is like
Плюс
if you look
15
at this
тупо,
here,
плюс 25 к
this
интеллекта,
is not the same
которая
as
сжирает
this.
все
It's not.
нормальные характеристики.
It's not the same game. Period. Like it's
Я делал, потому что, блядь,
undeniable that it's
нажимаю
not the
ещё.
same game. So
Пиздец.
what are we talking about?
advertising.
Два очень не умеют
Disingenuous
нажимать кнопки.
isn't illegal, so they get away with it. Now there are some games that do a much worse job of pretending to be the
Начало
game
уже
from the
сложная
ad.
инфа.
Like whilst I was researching
написано
this video,
какая-то.
I played a game called Top War Battle Game.
Чё уже,
that,
если
as far
видят
as I
слово
could tell,
использования, они
wasn't
дальше не
even
читают,
trying
по-моему.
to pretend to be the game from the ad. So I have no idea how companies like these get away with it. But generally, the game in the ad will be somewhere inside the app at some
Well, the way they get away with it is because Google doesn't do any quality control for their ads. That's the reason why they get away with it, is because Google doesn't care. And that's why, like, so many people, like, everybody talks about, oh, it's, like, bad to, it's, like, unethical to, like, ad block. It's like, you know what, like, you're right, but, like, Google is also behaving unethically by just letting ads that are blatant scams be published on their platform. Like, there's, like, the Mr. Beast scams, the Joe Rogan, like, deep fake scams for supplements. Like, this stuff is really bad.
point. They run an ad that shows a game that looks kind of fun, so it convinces you to download the game.
Yeah.
You play this little mini game for half an
different
hour
game.
before quickly realizing that the bulk of the game is not really
Я
what
пока
you
не
signed up
могу
for. And
использовать
this is where
эту
most
способность.
people
могу
just
быть
uninstall
полезен?
the game and never think about it again. But for
Right.
that tiny 2% of players,
Super
they get
shit.
hooked on what the rest of the game contains, and they spend money again and again, and they single-handedly bankroll the entire company that makes the game for years to come.
And this is why games keep appealing to whales, is because their vote matters more than yours does. Because whenever you vote with $1, they vote with $1,000. That's it. And so whenever you're not voting at all, that's another factor. It's that simple.
Он не
Because no
прыгает
court wants to
просто, вот
continually
я
try to
не знаю,
prosecute false advertising
ну
games.
что это такое?
Maybe
Нахуй я
I don't
пробел
know. I'm
нажимаю
just saying,
второй?
like in general, right? Like this is why these games keep happening.
Охуеть.
Developers take the tactic of fake
И
ads,
чё
make
это
it
за
more
хуйня?
cost
Раньше
installed and
запрыгивал
implemented.
нормально всё.
Yeah, you could be right.
Now, if you've
Actually-
been on the internet for a while
Well, it's
and
fresh.
have a relatively good memory, you might also remember these adverts.
Yeah.
These ones are similarly infamous for being completely fake and not representing the game at all. In fact, these ones are so infamous that they
Yeah.
actually made an entire ad campaign that literally commented on how their ads are fake.
Guys, didn't y'all believe that all those puzzle ads were fake? And there's no such game, but today I finally found the game. Ebony the King's Return.
Honestly, this one is
Wait. So they're talking and complaining about fake games while they're advertising the game that people are complaining about to be fake, and it is in fact fake? Wow. That's impressive.
so bold in just like doubling down on the lie that I honestly kind of respect it. But these ads were all over the internet a few years back, just blatantly showing a game that they had no intention of actually letting you play for more than 10 minutes. But these ads were discontinued a long time ago, and they've not been running for years. And when you download Evany, this old game is nowhere to be found, which sheds a light on another strategy these mobile game companies use to advertise their game. They use what's called A/B testing. They will create a bunch of different adverts and then roll them all out
Whichever
onto
one
YouTube
works, go with
all
that.
at once. Then they look at the statistics to see which of these ads performed the best and which of them resulted in the most downloads for the game. Whichever of these ads that they created that does the best will be kept, and the rest will get discarded.
I really have to admire the shamelessness of it. I do. Like, they don't care about anything. All they care about is getting people to download this piece of shit and play it. It's crazy.
They then take the successful
Somebody said in chat, call center energy. You are exactly right.
ad and they make some iterations of it, changing, you know, details here and there inside the ad. Then they roll out those ads again and measure their success. And they do this over and over again until they have the perfect ad to get as many downloads as possible for their game.
It's min-max.
And the most important part of all is that whatever minigame they decide to show in the advert is literally completely made up from scratch. And if one of the fake minigames in the ad starts to do well as an ad campaign, they then start making the minigame for their app to match the ad. Funnily enough,
Man.
most products usually start, you know, making the product first and then they make the ad to reflect the product. But mobile game companies start with the ad. And the moment this ad stops working as well as it used to, the moment people start to catch on that the game they're being advertised is completely fake, the company then changes their entire ad campaign. Make a brand new ad with a brand new fake game and spread it far and wide.
So before they have time to complain about it enough, they already just flip the script and start something new. That's a pretty good idea. Yeah, so goddamn rotten it is. It's really impressive. Yes, I know. Imagine waking up every morning and being an employee for one of these companies. They really have to psych eval for sociopathy. I mean, I think that they don't even, like, they probably don't even think about it. They're probably like, okay, so, like, we're going to do this. We're going to make these games, and whichever one people like will actually make the real game. Yeah, they're not thinking about this shit at all.
Starting the cycle all over again. Now, whilst I was researching this video, there was one thing that I just couldn't get my head around for the longest time. If you're a mobile game company and you have an ad that looks like this, that is insanely popular, why not just make your entire game look like this? Like, it's clearly super popular. People like it a lot and it convinces them to download your game. And there are literally thousands of negative reviews on the App Store page talking about how mad they are about the false advertising. So if you get all this backlash from your scummy marketing strategy, why not just make the entire game be just like the
Because the people that are making the game don't speak English and they don't even know what these things are saying. They just think, oh, it's another mad white person? Haha, we got him again. Hey, fuck him. Yeah, they don't even know. Oh, look at him. Look how mad he is. Yeah, that's probably the real reason.
popular ad campaign that your team came up with. Well, this is where we get to the saddest and most insidious part of the story. You see, whales are only half of the money-making strategy that these game companies employ. Because even if you get 100 million downloads on your app, even if 2 million whales rock up to your app,
that's a lot of whales.
Hand, you still have to convince those whales to spend their money in the first place. And this is where we get to the nasty part. The reason Evany is a base builder, and the reason it's been a base builder...
Because you probably have to wait time for you to build the base. But if you pay money, you can skip the wait. Let's find out if I'm right about this.
For its entire lifetime is because the base builder game is created from the ground up by very intelligent people with one single goal in mind: to be as addictive and manipulative as possible in order to get you to...
What a fucking surprise. Who could have ever imagined this?
Feel pressured into spending your money. And once you've
Yep.
started spending your money, it's designed to keep you spending it over and over
Absolutely.
again. Whales aren't just whales because they're stupid and have too much money on their hands. They're
Привет.
whales because they are unfortunately addicted to a game that they are willing to waste tens of thousands of dollars on. And this little
I think that there is a component of whales where it's actually not a mental disorder. They just like spending money on the game because they're bad with money. They're just stupid. Yeah, they're flexers. Exactly. Yeah, they're flexing. That's what matters to them. They like anime titties. Yeah, exactly. It's not a mental disorder. It's not a mental health crisis. It's just these guys like spending money on the game and bragging about it because they think it's cool.
minigame of enemies running down the lanes at you just
Yeah.
isn't good at making whales spend their money. It's very good at convincing people to download a game. It's fantastic marketing, but the downside of this minigame is that it's hard to monetize, whereas
Yeah.
a base builder or an anime RPG is incredibly easy.
Is this
to
like AFK Journey? I remember everybody was getting sponsored to play this game. Everybody got sponsored to play this game except for me. I think I was the only person on Twitch that did not get sponsored to play this game. Is it Fate Grand Order? Yeah, well, they all look the same, and it's all basically the same shit, right? I mean, let's be honest.
monetize, and they use all of the nastiest little tricks in the book that you can possibly think of to manipulate people into spending their money.
Yep.
They slow your progression through the game to a crawl and then offer you the ability to buy your progression back. They intentionally don't make their games too skill-based so that you'll be more willing to just buy chances to win. They offer
Well,
you...
the reason why is because that's actually not the reason why. It's that if somebody spends $10,000 in a
Never
video
smoked
game
sugar.
and they lose to somebody who plays it for free, do you know what that whale thinks? Maybe I might be a fucking idiot. Wait, am I stupid? Wait a minute, and whenever the person who you're trying to get to spend a large amount of money on something they shouldn't be spending money
Oh.
on, the last thing you want them to do is to think. Thinking is the death of a sale. So don't let them think.
limited time deals to make you feel pressured into spending money literally right now, or else the
Yeah.
deal goes away. They make desirable characters, skins, or items impossible to directly buy and make it so that the only way to access them is through loot box mechanics that are completely random. In fact, there's this really, really scary, disgusting
Dude, this is going to live in infamy for like the next 20 years.
video on the internet called Let's Go
Classic.
Whaling, where
Yep.
this guy, this evil, dirty fucking bastard of a man, goes on a massive 20-minute talk about just how he monetizes a mobile game. And it is
I don't
Да,
like
блин,
the
ты чё
people that
слово
are false
так?
advertising,
У тебя
but
ты
at the same time, like if you're getting addicted to fake
Я
Grand Order
могу
and spending
подкопом.
$70,000 on it,
Окей.
I'm really not going to blame a lot of other people besides you. I mean, like you're doing that to yourself.
Я не готова
Like,
применить это заклинание.
you're hitting yourself.
Hold on.
What are you doing? Like at a certain point, like he's not evil. Yeah, you practice exactly. Yeah. Like what's really going on here? Like why are we getting mad at this guy for making a game that's like addictive, rather than the person who's like spending a bunch of money on a game? Like this is insane. Like at what point is
Если
this
там
person not
она
accountable for their own
просто мана
behavior?
улетает.
Why does it matter if the consumer doesn't regret spending the money? Because I think that most consumers do
Недостаточно
regret
маны.
spending. And I think that
меня
regret
всё равно
sets in.
пропустил
It's like
факт.
post-nut clarity, where it's like you're not thinking about it being a bad thing at the
Боже.
time, but then after you finish playing the game and you look at it again, you think this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Get it off my screen right now. That's the reason why.
genuinely like staring in the face of Satan himself. I won't go over the entire video here, I'll just link it in the description for you to watch the whole thing, and I really do recommend you
Не,
watch
ну чё
it
за
because
хуйня?
he
Чё они
goes over every
перестрахнули?
dirty little trick in the business that mobile game companies use to pathologize spending money. And after you've finished watching that video, and after this guy has made you really, really angry, just think that there are dozens of people just
That
like
are watching this and taking notes. You've got to keep in mind that this guy wasn't giving a presentation to nobody. There are people that are in the audience that are like,
могу достать. Я пока не могу использовать эту способность.
They're thinking about it. That's what's happening. It's not like this is
Я
fucking
пока не
new.
могу произнести это
This guy got
заклинание.
work at the biggest and most profitable
Bobby,
gaming
yeah,
companies
Bobby
in the
front row
world,
seat,
and
exactly.
they spend every moment of their working lives trying to weasel their way
Yep.
into your mind and into your wallet.
Of
So
course.
that
Мне
is why the
нужно
mobile
подойти
game
ближе.
company can't just make their entire game look like the ad. Because the game in the ad looks much more fun to play, but it's much worse at slyly convincing people to part with their hard-earned cash. And you might
Yep.
be sat at home thinking to yourself, well, I would never be dumb enough to fall for this stuff. I have never spent a penny on a mobile game in my life. And that's just
You're still a plankton. And if you play these games, you
Слишком
are
далеко.
contributing to the ecosystem that keeps the whales alive. Yep. If you're playing the game, if you're free to play, you are still playing.
just a thing.
What?
Because you're probably right. You probably wouldn't fall for this stuff. But
Yeah.
there are people
Я
out
не
there
готова
that do, and
применить
they
это
fall for it
заклинание.
really hard. And as much as you might not want to admit it, those people are just like you and me. They're not dumber than you.
I think they are. I'll
Не
say it.
могу достать.
I think they are dumber. Now they might not be dumber than you about everything, but they
They
sure
don't.
are about this. Abso-fucking-lutely. It's not even a question.
They're not necessarily less able to see it for what it is than you are. They're just more prone to falling into these addiction traps than you are. They are being manipulated in one way or another by a bunch of people in suits just like this fuck.
I will say I disagree with this outlook to a degree, and the reason why is because all advertising is designed in order to get you to do something that you would otherwise not do. That's why advertising is there. It's to create awareness of something or to make it compelling. And this is the same as a YouTube title or a YouTube thumbnail. It's the same as having attractive people wearing clothes for a different brand. This is the same for everything. And that's just the way it is. I think at a certain point, a person has to take accountability for their own behavior. And if you know what you're getting into and you're spending your money on it, then you're accountable for that behavior. You do understand addiction is no different than alcohol addiction, right? Yeah, I do. And so if you want to avoid alcohol addiction, don't drink alcohol. It's actually really simple. Just don't drink alcohol. That's it. I understand that there's going to be some people that are going to go and be like, oh, it's not that simple. It actually really is. It's the same as if you want to lose weight, eat better, and start working out. It's hard to do. You might think it's challenging or it's painful, but that's what the solution is. If you don't want to get addicted to these games, then don't
Надо
play these
подождать.
games. Don't play games? Yes, don't play the games that you think are addictive. Yes, absolutely. Privilege shit. There's no justification. What's your justification? I'm addicted to alcohol. Who decided for you to be addicted to alcohol? You did whenever you started drinking. Everybody knows the risks of this. It's like, you think people don't know about alcoholism? People don't know about being an alcoholic? What are we talking about? Like, what is this? Stop it. Depression? Oh, so you're depressed and you can just do something that damages your life and it's not your fault anymore? That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense. It's still your fault. Same as drugs, gambling, and collecting items. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of a bad comparison. Alcohol is like inherently bad, like a video game is supposed to be just fun. That's not true. I don't think alcohol is like inherently bad in small amounts, and I think that for the people that think alcohol is inherently bad, probably also think a lot of them think video games are inherently bad. People
Слишком
think that
далеко.
perspective. Dumb take? No, it's not. It's not at all.
Я пока не могу
If you don't want to
произнести
get
это
addicted to something,
заклинание.
don't do it. Problem solved. People have zero accountability. Yeah, they were, oh, it's depression. It's the advertising. Get the fuck out of here. Take some accountability for your own life. Quit blaming the world because you can't control yourself.
Who spend their lives abusing quirks of human psychology to make themselves insanely
Надо
rich at the
подождать.
expense of everyday people just like you. So if you're ever watching watching YouTube and you see a mobile game ad that looks appealing to you, please, for the love of God,
Don't download
don't
it.
click on it.
That's right.
Because clicking on it is exactly what they want you to do. Thanks for
That's a
watching.
fact. That's fact. True, true, true. Absolutely. It doesn't apply once you're addicted or born with the addiction. You're right. If you're born with an addiction to something, it's different. But I don't think that's what most people are. So, here's the thing. I'll talk about that after. Like, I'll look at this video. This is, I actually have never heard this album. I didn't know about this as much as he explained it. This is a good video. I really like this a lot. Yeah. So, like, some kids are, like, born addicted to crack because their moms are crack whores. Like, that's what he's talking about. That's a legit thing. It happens. Or heroin. Yeah, it's just the way it is. How would you even know whenever most people, there are 7 billion people in the world? Well, because it's the same solution. It's like, I don't know all 7 billion people in the world, but I know if you cut your arm off, it won't grow back. Like, there are some things you don't need to test this with every single person in order to know it's obvious. The age of broken video games.
I think the first thing that comes to mind when I think of the PS4 and Xbox One era is all of the games that released in just a totally busted state. Don't get me wrong, broken games have existed since long before the PS4 and Expo. Shout out Superman 64. Hi Clark, how are you? Good to see you. Haven't seen you since college when you lasered that professor. But there definitely weren't nearly as many big budget AAA busters. You know, Big Ridge is barely comprehensible. Like, that game was made by one man. Prehistoric days of the Xbox 360.
Back in 2007, yeah.
Update to fix issues or add stuff to your disc-based game after its release was like a fairly new concept, but like
No, it was a pretty new thing. Like, most things would get shipped and they worked. Because back then, you gotta remember, like in 2007, this sounds nuts. But
Сейчас стрелой мимо он не зарезал.
there were people still living in the starting. They're like washing their clothes with like one of those little things you like put it on the water and, you know, pumping their own water from a well. And they come home and they watch television with no fucking internet.
and actually pretty cool concept. Wait, so the internet can make my already legendary game even more like I see no way this could have been value for the consumer. It is 2007. I just saw my complaint. But nowadays, the disc inside that case you just bought is practically dead weight the second you've installed the game and downloaded it. Like,
Well, the disc is what you buy, and then you download the
Сначала
game.
нужно выбрать цель.
Yeah, and the game doesn't really release for like 2.5 more weeks after they iron out all the bugs that they couldn't fix because they fired the QA team. So that's your job now, and you paid $70 to do it.
necessary giant update
блядь.
for fixes not included
Что такое?
on the disc. Because
Right.
the disc was actually manufactured
Ну, нормально иди.
prior to the game's
Вот,
set
хорошо, что
release
они
date, and the
сместились.
developers kept working on stuff during that time, likely because the publisher set the release date way too early, and were just like, it's fine, everyone has the internet, you'll fix it in time, just never stop working. You don't have to see your family. Your family is done.
You'll be ready. The game will be ready. All you have to do is work 90 hours a week. That's all. You just do that for 2 months, and then it's going to be fine.
Literally the creepiest idiots I've ever seen. Why do you want to go home to a dude? Your family? Hell, this Facebook doctor's note tells your PS4, yes, my son actually does own the
Yeah.
game. Now, go ahead and give him the necessary day one flu shot. Oh my god.
I cannot fucking believe that this guy compared buying a video game nowadays to a fucking doctor's note to say that you went to buy the game. I cannot fucking believe that. But the worst part about it is that it works perfectly. It does. It's
87 bit.
complete.
Fallout 76 didn't even actually come with a disc, so you actually just gotta pull
Надо подождать.
I hate that, bro. Like, whenever you buy it's like a jewel case for a game, and then you open it up, and it's just a piece of fucking paper, and it's a link to a website to download it on, with a download code or some shit. Like, back in the day, we bought World of Warcraft, and there were 5 fucking discs in that box. Burning Crusade, there were 4.
Reddit. Basically, if you don't have internet access nowadays as a gamer, you're screwed. But like all these videos, well, things used to be better back in the day, and now they're all bad, because it's not that simple or true. Big budget broken video games exist for a lot of reasons.
Я не готова применить это заклинание.
Really hard.
I think it's gotten harder now because also you have way more people that discover
пока не
bugs
могу
inside of games.
произнести
And
это
there are
заклинание.
probably people that if they didn't watch a bunch of bad like content about a game, they probably would have gone into the game and enjoyed it more. I absolutely think that people on YouTube and people online now, they'll go and they dislike games and they enjoy games less because they watch like 18 different criticisms and breakdowns of the game, and it's like they're like, oh, I thought this game was bad. Well, they're saying it's bad. That means it's fucking bad. Yeah, they're hate farming, exactly. So yeah, I think that I think that a lot of the games that come out that are problematic, yeah, they're bad, like for sure. But I think it's like a force multiplier with how many times like you got videos out there talking about how bad they are and showing about every single one. Because the truth is, a lot of these bugs,
Надо подождать.
it looks bad whenever you
Хуйня, блядь.
isolate it, and it is bad. It's bad.
Долго оно, блядь, будет
But
висеть,
there
при
are a
этом
lot of people that
видно,
will
что
never
она
even know this
перезарядка.
bug. It only happens whenever you're using this item
Я
in
не
this
готова
place, and you never
применить
use this
это
item in this place, so
заклинание.
it just never happened. But people will still see that and think, oh, game's bugged.
Extremely critical of many big budget AAA games on this channel, but I hope that I've always made one thing very crystal clear. A lot of very talented people work very hard.
Like, that shit was brown, so it was
У меня нет цели.
and then you turn it white, bro, that's something wrong. That's not natural. That's not normal.
Long, crunchy nature valley hours to make even seemingly simple stuff like this possible, and it's crazy. And in order for it to be considered pretty good by the general public,
Oh my god, is this happening to me again?
Надо подождать.
Alright, let's watch it.
openly critical of many big budget AAA games on this channel, but I hope that I've always made
Я
one
пока
thing
не
very
могу
crystal
произнести
clear.
это
Very
заклинание.
talented people work very hard for very long, crunchy nature valley hours
I have
to make even seemingly simple stuff like this possible, and it's crazy. And in order for a game to be even considered pretty good by the general public, gameplay, sound, story, character, performance, all of these things have to perfectly align in the nights in the
Я не
day.
готова применить
Obviously,
это
modern
заклинание.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the gameplay's good, I'm happy. Like, everything else is all, like, that's all fucking sprinkles on the cupcake. If the story's good, great. If the graphics are good, great. Does the game play like shit? If the answer to that is no, we're not doing it.
Made creating virtual worlds a lot easier than it was back in the 80s or 90s. And I
no
think we
doubt.
often take that for granted. We've come a long way from the days where 3D was a bit more of a fluid, abstract concept like jazz, and you aimed a gun with the same finger that drove James Bond.
Yeah, it was weird.
Lights you up.
Bro, why
with
am
a
I getting
sound
ads?
Many more important across many different types of tubes.
But I can't believe I'm getting ads, bro. Like, how am I getting ads? Bro, I'm so sick of this. How do I, what do I download? Is it uBlock Origin? Nah, because it says this.
I think the first thing that comes to mind when I think of the 3D was a bit more of a
Let's see if it's
fluid,
gonna work.
abstract concept. Jazz.
Надо
The
подождать.
same finger you drove James Bond with. But with better tools and better hardware comes bigger projects, with bigger budgets, with bigger teams, with bigger lists of bigger problems that your big ass better fix with your big tractor. And if you've ever been hanging out with a big group, you know that even doing something as simple as deciding where to go for dinner can quickly become a f***ing boss fight. Especially when
I don't know why people are like this.
your friend's mom who's paying for the dinner has all these crappy dinner demands
Yeah.
because she's trying to satisfy her dinner shareholders. This metaphor is getting a little goofy.
I fucking hate this. People that always try to make eating food complicated. There's nothing I hate more than that. Oh, it makes me so mad.
I don't
Пока
have
не
to
могу
thinking about
произнести
Michael
это
Clayton. So I think the
заклинание.
first obvious reason
just
that
pisses
AAA
me
games
off.
releasing in a broken state is that game development is just insanely hard. It requires
Yes,
so
it
much
is.
dedicated
Absolutely.
collaboration and efficient time management. And it's a miracle
Yes.
that any video game ever gets finished and is even exists at all. And all video games should go to heaven. The second reason is
That's true. Yeah.
okay, buddy, that's enough out of you. I'm Jakey, attorney at law, and I'm here to tell you about today's video sponsor, PayPal Honey. Honey is a free online shopping tool that automatically searches for promo codes at checkout, like a little deal detective, so that you don't have to. Honey works for so many things that you're probably
No, this
already
this
buying,
ad's
like
fine
shoes
because
or
it's like at
clothes
least he's
on
getting paid
websites
for it,
that
not
you're probably
Google.
already shopping at. And did I mention that it's completely free? Hey, no objections over here. Sustained and overruled. Shit. Anytime you see your little dancing detective up here, just click apply coupons and let little shorty do his thing and try to save you some money. Dang! I recently needed a new lawyer briefcase because my previous one was covered in so much mud for reasons I'm not at liberty to say. So naturally, I looked online for a cute new backpack that I could take into the courtroom, and Honey found a coupon for it and go. Whether you use Google Chrome,
I didn't even know you could use coupons on the internet. You can do that?
Готово применить это
But
заклинание.
is that a coupon? Like, I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, damn, I never thought.
Firefox, Safari, or for whatever reason, Microsoft Edge, you can add Honey to your browser for free by going to joinhoney.com/NakeyJake. Using my special link helps the channel and is greatly appreciated by all of the attorneys here at Jakey, and Jakey, and Jakey, and Jakey, and Jakey, and Jakey. Thank you to Honey for
Я
Well,
пока не
probably just
могу
use some
произнести
random,
это
like, you know,
заклинание.
attorneys in suits, and he just fucking searches it up on Google, and it's like the first result is like, yeah, we're gonna use that one.
During this video, and now let's get on back to this episode of Nabo Jabo and the Age of Michael Clayton. As most of you in the audience know, new video games sell around $60, or I guess now $70 on PS5 and
That's
Xbox
right.
Series
That's
S.
right. Give me $80
Why
soon.
Надо
It's been around
подождать.
that $50 to $60 price point for a while, even
Yep.
though AAA games take way longer to make now and have way bigger budgets than back in the day when I was star quarterback. So because of all that, and also inflation, in some cases,
Yeah,
it's kind
I
of
see. This is bad, huh? Like, damn, look at that. That sucks, huh?
Мне нужно подойти ближе.
Damn. Well, I guess wages went up by that same amount though, so it's okay.
Я не готова применить это заклинание.
$60 when Eternal Game was $50 23 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And the swords in that game are tiny.
Надо
They're not nearly
подождать.
as girthy or as long as Elden Ring. You go out in public with that shit, I'll kick your ass. Donkey Online has a really good video about video game pricing you should go watch later, but not right now. If you leave, you won't see how I learned how to spin. I'm gonna spin later. You're gonna want to see that. So if you're a company whose main priority at the end of the day is just to generate as much profit as humanly possible,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
why not cut a few corners? You know, assuming that your reputation isn't all that important to you. Because
Well,
of the
it's or like you've got to keep in mind, right? It's like a lot of companies, their reputation is already in the shitter. So it's like if EA brings out a game and there's no bugs in it, no one's gonna care. But at the same time, if EA brings out a game and it's bugged out, it's fucked up, also nobody's gonna care. Because it's EA, what do you expect?
It's a choice between A, spending millions of dollars for every month to lengthen development time,
Я пока не могу произнести это заклинание.
people recognize that it's good quality.
Я не готова применить это заклинание.
At the big show,
Я пока не могу произнести это заклинание.
which is all a very big gamble. Or B, set a very unrealistic release date that you know damn well you will not make, and force your team to crunch their asses off only to still release a broken game that you'll maybe eventually fix with a giant update long after release and after you've already made all your money. And to make sure you definitely see a return on your giant investment and satisfy your investors, you do all these pre-order bonuses and fancy...
Oh, pre-orders. Look at that. Like, bro, this is gaming. Guys, who's excited about gaming? Here, let me go back. Oh, look at that. Pre-order bonus, badges, selling out fast, postcards, original score art book, wallpapers. Oh my god. Take my money. This is the way these games are now, man.
and fancy trades to guarantee that people buy your game before gamers can even know that the game is busted as hell, because you also made it so that no publication
Я не готова применить это
until the
заклинание.
day the game comes out, which should be illegal. Yeah, if the only thing you care about is sales in your quarterly reports, you're definitely planting at bomb site.
Yeah, we're on the beat.
Не могу даже это
Ubisoft
сказать.
and EA
Надо подождать.
Square Enix and Activision and CD Projekt Red and Microsoft.
Yeah.
Like several times. You very rarely see Sony or Nintendo or Rockstar publish a big, broken, unfinished mess, because they know that their reputation is a big reason people purchase games that have their cute little sexy logos in the corner.
That's right, because after your reputation is flawed, well then it's like, okay, well at this point, I mean, you might as well have some fun with it. Yeah, just like don't even test the shit. Just put it out there. They already pre-ordered, right? Yeah, all right, yeah, it's good. It's good. We fix it later.
Слишком далеко.
We'll do it live.
Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, God of War, all of these Sony exclusives released in relatively bug-free and complete states, and it's gone. We don't have to do it. It's gone. Yeah, I said you never played this one. Go back to bed, okay? Doesn't mean that those devs didn't have to crunch like hell to reach the finish line. No, unfortunately, crunch is a huge problem across the entire industry. Even Golden Girl publishers, Sony, and Naughty Dog
Я пока
aren't
не могу
accepting.
произнести
Still
это
very much not
заклинание.
ideal. But apparently even Golden Girls like Nintendo or Rockstar, companies with some of the highest rated games of all time under their championship belt, they push Fight B too. It's B, Rush B, Rotate B, Rotate B. The GTA Definitive Trilogy was one of the most appalling and disappointing re-releases of a beloved franchise that the world has ever seen. Appalling and disappointing re-releases of a beloved franchise that the world has ever seen. And this is Rockstar, the company that put out this game, and this game, and this game,
Сейчас.
and this
Ну да.
and fucking even this game is amazing. And you know money isn't tight with how much of a cash cow GTA 5 continues to be 10 years later. Like, this isn't an indie publisher rushing out Hog Simulator 3 because they're strapped for cash after their Kickstarter failed. No, this is Rockstar.
I feel like Hog Simulator, I feel like that'd be a good game. Yeah, that'd actually be probably fun.
Agree. I don't know
Hog
if it falls on
Simulator's
Rockstar
Dragonflight?
or their parent company Take-Two, but at some point, someone or someones somewhere said, "F it, we'll do it live." And Nintendo,
There we go.
they just published the two
Exactly what I was
lowest rated mainline Pokemon games to ever exist. Games